Hi, I'm Jeremy. Welcome to our home in progress and our farm, Cornucopia Orchards. Winter weather may be finally over and spring is here. 2/3 of a year later, my dad and I are finally getting the last few windows in. We've got 7 to do and the house will be pretty much buttoned up. We've made a ton of progress on the interior rough trades over the past month. While this is a short window of good weather, the upcoming weeks look to be changing to a dry late spring, maybe an early start to the summer toward the end of April or early May. Looking pretty good already.
Well, this is saying maybe the top needs to go a touch that way.
What is missing is unfortunately 2 out of the 4 things you do first on the siding: the J-blocks, the corners. We plan on starting with the corners first, and then we'll run the band board between floors, and then the window and door trim and the J-blocks. All the siding goes on after that. If you remember, we took our original window delivery in the summer last year. It was an unmitigated disaster. Check this video out if you haven't seen what happened. We got the windows we had installed once the roof was on, and finally got the replacements for the windows that were broken earlier this year. With this side of the house being in the rain shadow 96% of the time, I haven't felt so rushed to get these installed as to rent equipment or work in the rain to do it. However, with this good weather window and with a good platform to work on top of the secured porch roof joist from the last video, check this one out here. And there we have that. So all 4 windows are installed. I'm glad this is getting done. No more trapped flickers to help escape.
There's some bow to that.
I think we need to come this way just here. And maybe fewer hornets making their way in. Ever since 7 years old, they've been my lifelong enemies, but that's a story for another time.
So we have the extra help right now, so we're going to go ahead and, we hadn't planned on doing this today, we're going to go ahead and do this window too, and that will just leave us, we can open this one up, and Dad and I should be able to handle this last little one, and then they'll all be complete today. Probably kind of lean it up like this, and then I will help hit it up into the cradle, and I'm going to be out on the ladder, which is bumped, so it should be as roughly safe as it can be here. What are you go gushing about?
I know. You can do it.
As long as you don't throw the window at me.
Right.
You're gonna have to go up a little bit more than me
I would
to start with.
I
Or this way?
have a hard time supporting you this way. If you go up that way versus taking the top out first,
Oh.
I think that I can probably support you a little
Would it be
bit.
helpful if we took the screen out, do you think?
Well, it'll need to come out, but you can take it out after it's in place, just as easy. You don't want it to move around.
Yeah.
It has to
Okay.
stay locked while you're getting in position.
Let me get.
Put your hand on this.
Yep.
You have to tilt it, yep. Are you guys okay?
I can tilt it under if you can.
Okay. I get
Then I want you to go around that window, okay?
Yep.
Okay, now, reach down.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna, now go
Gotta get the line up to come in.
Okay.
Sounds like we're in on the bottom.
Yeah, gotta get down just a bit. There we go.
Okay, get the,
I'm not convinced. There we go.
I took the screws where you can reach them.
Okay.
Putting some screws here on the ledge. I like the picture windows on the side.
yeah,
We thought about doing them opening, but it's really not needed. It's a nice big window.
yeah, you should get draft through here.
Okay, so what's
I'm
our
gonna need the
strategy?
cop gun first.
Okay, I'll get it.
I am prepared.
Okay. How do you want to do
Be
it?
prepared.
Same as last time?
Ooh, hold on.
Okay, you take it there, and then let me get my hands back this way.
Okay. Oh, hand. Okay.
Out, and out.
Okay.
Sorry, not trying to kill you.
It's okay. You are quite a bit to your right. You need to be more to your left.
Okay, now,
Up.
one more. Okay, there's one. Let's try this one.
Here, why don't you let me try to come you.
Well, these two would say that's way too high,
Oh,
but we did get the other two quite nice and level. You need to come down 1/4 of an inch on the left and 1/8 on the right is what this is saying.
Got it.
So all 4 windows being installed now on this side. And we did go ahead and actually end up getting, as you saw, all 3 upper windows installed as well. Very exciting. That means the house is very close to nicely sealed. Just a few details, especially in the attic. And other than that, we're good. And this should keep all the birds out at least.
Why would you want us to flower?
So here's a little tip for you when working with PEX and shark bite fittings. Sometimes, especially if it's not necessarily the highest quality fitting, these can be a real pain in the backside. They tend to like to get caught. You can see that one's actually been slightly damaged. You line them up perfect and you think they're gonna go in and they just won't do it. So they come out. That's the nice part. When you go to put on one of these fittings, there's a sleeve inside. It looks like that. That's a higher quality one. This is a cheaper one. And the way to get them, I find, to make them we don't do that kind of thing where they catch, is just take them out. You can pull them out and then pre-fit them into the pipe where they're gonna go, and then they will not have that problem, and then you can attach it. We're underneath in the crawl space right now, and you can see this is where it goes under the foundation. It's sheathed. There's a pipe that goes, greater diameter. Outside PVC, inside turns into PEX. Curves right, well, technically it turns into PEX outside, and then comes right up. You're not allowed to have PVC inside the house. I've got it running through and up into the building. So this is our 1-inch supply. Inside the house, here we are. That's the kitchen on the other side. We're in the utility room. And the pipe's coming up through the wall. Comes up and in and over. And then we're partway done on this project. So this is kind of be what it's gonna look like. And you can see that basically we come in and we just tee off in all directions with a 1-inch. And then it goes in 3/4 over, and then there's gonna be a water heater right here. and then that will return into this line. So it does take up that wall pretty effectively, and were I to have done this with one of the pre-built ones that are largely plastic and even more expensive than this, believe it or not, with all those parts and pieces in there, it would probably take up a little bit less space. This is cheaper, and I think it will last longer. Now, I recognize that obviously the PEX pipe is a type of plastic. It's not the same grade as the parts that I'm talking about. So the parts that I'm talking about are on the manifolds that are pre-made. You come off of this and it's plastic, and then it comes out into here, and most of them are plastic where it joins into a turn knob and exits as plastic. And the good ones are modular, so that if this piece fails, you can replace it. But at the same time, I just don't like that idea. So I'm working up in here on this section that is the master shower that is going to connect into this pipe here, which is bringing over the toilet and the lavatory, double lavatory. And the shower has its own vent. That's why we've got actually that back there in the corner, and then that. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to have this slid up into here like this. And then that P-trap I've got set up to run over, and then it's going to come down that wall. It's going to take an elbow, and then it's going to come down through that hole down into here, and that will continue that line. Just a straight 90, 90, and then we'll bring it up here and we'll glue the two sides and then pop it in. Get maximum tightness. I'm going to twist that one, bring this over, go down as much as I can. Okay, should be good to go. So I've already got it marked down here. I'm just going to transfer that up. 7 inches in from here is the center line for the vanity. And so there's your 7 inches right there. So I'm just going to put this on here like that. Yep, it's still looking pretty good. We should be set over there stack-wise. Right there. If you really want to be able to see it, you can always take an extra long pipe and then stick it in the outlet. That is just the way I want it, just a little bit above. And it also provides convenient leverage. If you've let it sit for a little bit too long, you can always, jam that in there. And we'll go ahead and get this guy capped and ready to go for the rough stage. So we need to bring this, corner it, and then take it up to that upstairs bathroom. So one of the things I find useful is I always end up with parts and pieces, little bits like this right here. And I can just use this as a test piece to try and get my bearings on what I need here. So essentially what we're doing is something like this. And I'm just gonna get it to hit the cup, not try and catch that inside lip. That's going to be a little difficult with what I can see. But right now we're sitting at 17.5. And these 2-inch fittings have a 3/4 depth. So essentially we're talking about 18.25. And if I hit that at 18.125, it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. So we're going to cut one to 18.125.
Well, that is on there. Not my favorite. And it could be worse. Fairly typically, you know, just installing 5 minutes of material in ABS, I always seem to get covered in glue, so that could be a lot worse. That is very serviceable, and it is within slope, and everything in there is the way it should be, so I'm happy. So because our hole's on this side, and I want the P-trap to be able to have a space to bring this over before I take it down, I'm gonna go ahead and mount it so that it is flush to this side, and we'll go ahead and get that installed with just some screws that I happen to have that I don't really like these screws, and so this is a good spot to get rid of them because there's not much of any real pressure or on this structure. That is not going to work. Why do I not like them? Well, because they're Phillips, and I hate Phillips. Some people say he's a nice guy, but I don't know, I just don't trust him. It's fine if it moves about a little bit. It will stop moving completely once I have this drain put into position, because that will pretty well hold it and lock it in place. Make sure we have the right drop before our P-trap, and then we will bring it over and down. So this piece here is just elbow over, elbow down. And what I ultimately decided I was going to have to do with this is I'm going to switch this back over, vertically flip it so that that side will come right down the wall. And just because of where we are as far as the piping going down through, almost at the end of this can of ABS glue, so I just let it sit on its side. It'll start drying up and evaporating, but I gotta, when it's open like this, but I gotta get it to come down the sides to get what's left out. Pretty much done. This guy can get pretty easy. Sit in there. All right, it's glued enough to hold itself. So now we can go down and get the bottom. I'll get that pretty tight. It'll go. This is quote unquote just vent pipe, and it's just the washer. That part, you know, the just is very much okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's holding itself down in this case. So we're going to try out something new that I haven't tried before. On the drill here, I've got a fitting saver bit. They were on here something like this, and they came out of that corner over there, and I am trying to get them instead to go up through the floor and then basically come like this. When we put that window in, when we chose to redline that into the plans, that meant that the master bath drain could no longer come down the outside wall. So we're going to try and see if this thing works and get these routed out. I've seen some people say online this is the wrong one to use, this type here, and that I need to use a different one, but so let's see. So obviously it fits the circle disc in, and then wish I could hold that a little better. See if I can kill myself here. Working pretty good, I think. I wouldn't call that the cleanest, but I think it might work. Why am I wearing my sunglasses for this particular project? Well, glad you asked. I wear them at night. Just kidding. I wear them when my child, who is a squirrel, hides my see-through clear glasses somewhere in the building, and I don't know where. So we've done a couple of things to get this ready here. We are working on, I got a piece of
4x6. We're installing them through the other side of the post with 2 timber screws, 8 inches long, more than enough to hold this puppy. I have a temporary holding block with 1 screw in it on that side, just to hold it where I want it, exactly at the right height and level against the post. And then over here, once it's installed at the post, I'm going to try and pull this. This isn't quite plumbed up. It got pulled this way against the wall somehow. So to get this to be nice and square in this corner here, I'm going to pull this post back as I screw down into it. So let's go ahead and get this side secured. So we're going to be using these on those posts, but then we're going to be using these guys, which are only 6-inch. They are black. They just happen to be black. Doesn't bother me. And these are not Simpsons. These are Ledgerlock, I think, brand. They're a 3/8 equivalent, and the ones we used coming from the outside of the post are 1/2-inch equivalent. So. Flushed it up pretty good at the back. This post is slightly off from our beam, but not bad. And these will just kind of pull tight to the face, but now we're just incredibly stiff here. That's great.
So it ended up being the case that I had to cut one of the 45s that you saw, one of the 1/8 bends, off of that fixture grouping, and then adding a sweep to it. I routed out that 3-inch elbow, the first one, cut the second one off, routed out that second one, or that first one, and then it slipped up into there, and I was able to turn it just right and then lift that pipe. There was about a 1/2 inch in the saddle down there that was holding that whole pipe assembly, and that enabled me to turn it and then push it in. So we've got a good connection down there. So now all we have to do is get this vertical and then somehow convince that pipe that it wants to live in there. So here's our sanity. So I ended up finding in 3-inch. And you can see that it sweeps upwards. Both directions it's sweeping up versus sweeping down. It's because we're not draining, we're venting here. And I've fit this in to where this piece went down over this lower pipe so I could squeeze it up into this headspace here without making a massive hole in the floor. And I've run this pipe over and into where it's going to be so I can see where I'm resting relative before I put on the bushing and get this attached, so I can see where I am relative to this pipe. It's going to tell us the lower end limit of this 3-inch piece here, and you can see it's a flush bushing that I have here. So that's also going to be basically how far down that's going to be, and then we'll measure the depth of this fitting for this one here, and that's where we'll cut that. This is a 2-inch bushing from 3-inch, and almost everything 2-inch in ABS, and this brand at least, is going to be a 3/4. And get to where you can see that. Yeah, 3/4 of depth. I'm going to cut a little bit low. Almost put that on backwards. That would have been fun. Now that's the seat position right there, but we got to make sure that the pipe is going to come in. So we're going to bring the pipe over and seat this pipe just as a temporary. And wherever that wants to sit is where we want it to sit. So that joint is set. I just need to go check and make sure I have at least a little bit past the last joist on that end, and then we can glue this one in if so. All right, so we saw this all off that little bit there. Now we're ready to go get that over there glued in, and then we're going to connect in over to here. drip. Yep. As long as it ain't dripping on me. And we're just coming uphill just a little bit with this. Again, because vent just needs to be positive or neutral as far as its slope. All I got is this last little bit here. It's got to glue up this joint. I forgot I actually hadn't glued that. That was actually smart of me. I like to be able to swing. Woo, it's coming. Yep, there we go. I like to be able to swing an arm in. Tends to deliver better results, I think, when you swing the arm inwards. There's a nice solid one. All right. So one thing that I could have done here that you'll notice that we're off of the board here, and that's because of this joint, obviously. The pipe on the other side, we're flush to it. And initially I was thinking in my head that we would be all the way down, but then realized that would require me to drill out this hole, and we'd be really pushing the outer diameter of what we're allowed to drill out from this hole if we did that. So I just went ahead and allowed this to come out a little extra. So I have this pipe coming up on the non-living area side of the attic, and the pipe right now I'm just leaving short of the ceiling. That way I don't have to put this through the roof system just yet. I won't until the next time I'm ready to go up onto the roof, and then I can tape it, and that will prevent any leaks we have until we're ready to actually put on the full metal roof, and then I can flash over top of that with the appropriate cap. All right. Once I get the last few parts and pieces of this system in, and there's a shower that needs to be put in, and there's a couple of parts in the laundry. Once those are all roughed in, then the next step for the rough drainage portion of the rough plumbing inspection, to have it ready for that, would be to do basically get ready for a pressure test. So you have to have, outside of the building envelope, you have to have the pipe plugged or cut and capped, and then you can rejoin. In our case, since it's already joined, which sucks, but it is what it is. If that's what I've got to do, I'll do it. And then you have to have this through the roof so you can get 15 foot of head pressure test. So we're finishing this out finally. Got the right parts I need, and we've got I decided to put the sanity facing out this way, and then run it up, and then loop over to the P-trap. And the reason being that there weren't any fittings with the placement of where this pipe had to go, because that's where I had done the pipe for when I'd done the underfloor plumbing, not knowing exactly where it was. I just know I had to get it into this run. Well, that actually limited my options here. So what I would have liked to have done would be to run the pipe up actually through here, then vent straight out the top, and then tee over into here, and then I could have done whatever I wanted in this space. However, that just wasn't going to work for us. So because of what everything was, that ended up working the best when I brought this back over to here, ran it straight down the face, P-trap, and then up and then down. And all I had left to work in is just to get this piece connected. And I left it off so that I could show you, like, this is exactly the sort of thing that you want to leave for last, and to connect in two systems that are, you know, up until that point separate. Because, I mean, you've got all this room to work in. It's a small, simple piece, and it just fits in like a glove. So let's go ahead and get that connected on, and then we're done here in the laundry room for rough plumbing until we're ready to bring in the supply lines. This particular joint is kind of an interesting one because I'm having to push down hard on the right to hold and push up hard on the left, but it went in just fine. We're good.
All right, cap is on, attached in through the sanity, and all the way up, all the way over, all the way up and into the attic. We are actually done with the DWV portion of our house build. This is a leaf and a flower on a hazelnut tree. And this is the pollinator. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button for more, and if you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and leave a comment. It really helps us out a lot. These videos take hours of our time to make, and once we hit 1,000 subscribers, YouTube will start sharing their revenue with us. See you next time.